Welcome. Today we are going to talk about three different compounds that we find in three different types of diets. We're going to talk about an average diet, a healthy diet, and a healthy diet for sport. What I'm going to do is give you a brief overview of these compounds and these three different diets, and then we're going to go into some specific details and examples about these three different diets and their compounds, and then finally we'll conclude with a couple of key points about these three different diets and their compounds. So let's take a look at these three different diets. We've got an average diet, we've got a healthy diet, and then we have a healthy diet for sport. Now you can see that for the average diet, in the red, we've got carbohydrates, and the carbohydrates comprise the largest percentage, 40% of your average diet. In the healthy diet, the largest percentage is 50% of carbohydrates, and then for the healthy diet for sport, it goes up to 60%. In comparison, we've got proteins in the average diet are at 40%, healthy diet 30%, and healthy diet for sport has 25% protein. So you can see that between these three different diets, we have shifting amounts of carbohydrates, proteins, and then, of course, there's fat, 20, 20, and 15. So let's quickly summarize these three different diets and their compounds. The highest proportion of carbohydrates are consumed in the sports diet. You can see that from the pie charts. The average diet contains the highest proportion of protein, and then the proportion of fat is similar in all three of those diets, with 20, 20, and 15. So let's take a look at the carbohydrates. 60% of the diet for the sport diet is comprised of carbohydrates, whereas 50% in the healthy diet and 40% in the average diet. So as you go from very active to less active, you can see the amount of carbohydrates is changing. Let's look at the proteins. The 40% of the average diet is comprised of protein, 30% of the healthy diet has protein, and then 25% of the sports diet is comprised of proteins. So again, what does this tell us? That as we are getting into a more active diet, then we are having fewer and fewer or less and less protein in our diet. Fat, you can see that in the average and the healthy diets are comprised of about 20%, and then in the sports diet there's a lower amount of 15%. So, in conclusion, we have that carbohydrates are the most consumed food group in all three of these diets, and that people who are very active, the sports people, eat more carbohydrates and less fat in comparison to the other two diets we have looked at today. So with that said, if anyone has any questions, I'm willing to answer them now.